I, 24, had an auto accident over 2 years ago that resulted in a left leg knee amputation. I thought that would have been the end of my active lifestyle. I loved all kinds of sports as a kid, and I still do. I had a very hard time adjusting to my new normal. My parents were able to get me a prosthetic leg that allowed me to get back to running and going on trips with my friends like we always do every summer. The guys were planning an recreational vehicle trip on the weekend. We had already chosen a destination which was spending some time out in nature and get away from stress. My girlfriend asked if she could come along. I told her no, this is a guy's trip. Told all my buddies' girlfriends wanted to go, but they were firm and put their foot down. She laughed at me for this, then tried to convince me to let her come because she was feeling stressed out from being at home 24/7. I already made up my mind. I wasn't going to ruin the trip just because she wants to be on a guy's trip. I promised her a trip when I get back. She got upset and didn't like the idea. Later on, before I went to sleep, I took my prosthesis off as I do every night. This is my second prosthesis. I've already completed a wearing schedule during the first year and had to get another prosthesis to accommodate any physical changes I had. I woke up in the morning and I couldn't find my prosthesis. I looked where I put it, but it was gone. I asked my girlfriend who was doing heavy cleaning around the place, and she said she didn't see it. I was confused, it was near my bed. I asked her to stop being childish and playing games and give back my prosthesis because I knew she took it. She's a bad liar, couldn't even deny it. She said she wanted to hide it so that I won't go on that trip and leave her alone. I got mad at her for this. I was stunned to find my prosthesis hidden underneath an auto part in the garage. It had been damaged. It was placed in a possession where it had a crack. It was obvious it no longer functions properly. I mean, I could still wear it, but can't put my whole weight on it because it would break. I yelled at her and showed her what she did. She said she didn't mean it. I told her she did mean it because she was being childish and jealous over a trip, and now she caused me $7,000 worth of damage. It told her she ruined everything, that she owed me a new one, and that she needed to pay for a new one. She got mad and left. I basically had to use my old crutches. It felt absolutely horrible. I called the guys and told them I wasn't coming. It's been a few days. She's mad that I'm still asking her to pay for a new prosthesis and called me an idiot for not apologizing and preferring a plastic leg over her. I had to call my parents today to tell them they told me she should at least help pay half the expense of a new prosthesis since she caused damage to it, and then consider my relationship with her. Have I been an idiot to her? Not the idiot. What the absolute hell is wrong with her? She took your leg. She took your freaking leg so you wouldn't leave her for 2 days. Just a single weekend with your buddies. Even when you told her you have one with her alone, but later. In my eyes, what she did is unforgivable. By doing what she did, she damaged your quality of life because you wouldn't give in to her demands. She has to repay for the damage she's done. And I encourage you to re-access your relationship with her, seriously. Not the idiot. She has a lot of psychological issues. As for advice on how to end this, limit communication, focus on getting whatever you can from her financially. If you'll get anything at all, do send her text messages that you screenshot where you get her to admit what she did by basically repeating the events back to her and saying, so how much responsibility are you going to take? And then whatever she admits, you can use that against her if needed. But just focus on compensation, and now just be done and ready to block and move on when a resolution, if there is to be one, is made. Not the idiot. You need to drop that chick like a hot potato. She needs mental help. That wasn't just an immature thing to do, it was downright abusive. She took something you need to get around. Reverse the genders, and let's see what we would think of a man who stole and hid his wife or girlfriend's tampons and pads so she couldn't leave the house. There would be outraged marching in the streets. So, it's no different here. She shouldn't be paying for half of it, she should be paying for all of it. I know the title already sounds like I'm a major idiot, but there are a few more variables that need to be discussed before you make your decision. Also, this is a throwaway account for obvious reasons. So I meet a girl on Tinder named Kim, and we exchange a few messages before deciding to meet up for coffee. The date is going okay, although it was a bit boring. We grabbed our cup of Starbucks, I paid, we chatted for a bit, and decided to drive to a cool little outdoor park to go for a walk. We drive around 30 minutes to this park, listen to a bit of music on the way, still getting to know each other a bit, and everything was going fine. I parked, we got out of the car and walked a bit, still chatting, nothing deep, but the usual what you do for work, hobbies etc. etc. I had to take a leak, so I go to the bathroom and when I walked out, I noticed she was talking to a guy and he was being very flirty and when I walked up to them, he asked who I was and she responded, "Oh, he's just my friend haha," and he said he wanted to grab her number to go out for a drink sometime. She was all too happy to give him the number and they hug with a kiss on the cheek before he leaves. At this point, I was just over it. I wasn't that interested in her, and if she's the type of person to show interest in another guy and exchange info in front of me, I have no future with her. I decided to make up some random excuse to get away from her and just got in my car and drove home. I didn't want to have to deal with her company for a 40-minute drive and was over it. Oh well, I honestly feel like a bit of an idiot, but also feel it was just in a sense considering what happened. Not the idiot. These comments saying you are the idiot. Are they insane? I am a woman, with no car. If I'm lucky to get a date that is generous enough to buy me drinks and drive me for free, I can hold myself for a day and not openly flirt and call you just a friend haha. Even if I pay and drive, that doesn't give me the right to disrespect my date like that. She's a gold digger and got what she deserves. Don't worry about it, she definitely has other options. I am sure she found a free ride to her home. Not the idiot kinda hilarious that people think you are still obligated to drive her home after she disrespected you like that. If the genders were reversed in this situation, everyone would be saying not the idiot. You dodged a bullet with this girl, lucky you saw her ways and got the back out before she got more money and time out of you. Also, a particular screw you to anyone who suggested that the dude she gave her a kiss may have just been a friend of hers. Get real and stop making up imaginary situations to give women the benefit of the doubt while being sleazy. Everyone's the idiot here. She shouldn't have picked up another guy on your date, but you shouldn't have just left her either. It sounded like you didn't have any interest in her anyway. Yes, it was rude of her, but if she didn't have any interest in you, the other guy may have been the one for her, and why blow that possibility? Instead, the two of you could have laughed about it and maybe become actual friends. She may have a friend who was perfect for you, and maybe one of your friends was perfect for her. I, 37, been with my wife for 2 years, and I have a 9-year-old son from my previous marriage with a congenital heart disease. He's in the last stage and is currently on a waitlist for a possible heart transplant. The problem is that he's sick most of the time. We had numerous visits to the hospital, he's currently on medication, but he's always struggling with doing activities and playing just like other kids. The cardiologist told me about a device called ventricular assist device that would help and improve my son's condition. I've looked into it. Spoke to other parents of kids who have the same condition and I decided to get my son this device, and I was told the sooner, the better so that my son could participate in activities and feel comfortable while breathing and limit hospital visits. I have been saving up money for this device, and I was planning on making an appointment with the private clinic staff to have his operation done this month. My wife is 4 months pregnant and she's been asking when I was going to pay for a nursery room for our baby and complained that I was neglecting our baby and still haven't gotten anything for him. She started showing me different nurseries online that she thought were nice and she went crazy about one of them that costs nearly $3,500. She insisted that I get it, but I told her that the money is for my son's operation. She said that this is my son as well. She criticized the doctor's recommendations and said that doctors are now advertising for many insufficient devices just to get money out of it and brought up what happened to her deceased dad and how they took his money and didn't treat his condition. I told her to drop it and she threw a fit calling me stubborn. My wife made dinner for us and seemed quieter than usual, then she brought it up again. I told her to stop, but she went on about her expectations for me to be a good father to our unborn son and how I'm neglecting him already. I didn't even finish dinner, and before I went into the bedroom she told me that she already called the store and pre-ordered the nursery she liked and that I should know because I will be paying for it. I lost it. I yelled at her for doing this after I already gave her my answer. I demanded she cancels the order and she yelled back that I was being unfair and will be an awful dad who already failed once and how sorry she feels for our son. She told me this in front of my son. We argued back and forth. She ended up going to her family and she's been there for 2 days now. She mentioned that she won't return home until I decide to be fair to her and her son and stop disrespecting her. I haven't talked to her yet and I feel like I'm being pressured, especially by her parents, who told me that I shouldn't treat her like that when she's taking care of me and my son. Not the idiot. Yikes, bro. Seriously. I'm so sorry. I know she is pregnant and I have to help. That part of her crappiness is the crazy things mother brain causes when panicking about nesting and all that, but your son isn't dead and she is acting like he is. Wasting money to extend the quality of life for your son is not waste money. Honestly, I would tell her you guys need counseling if you're wanting to work it out because your son is here now, the baby isn't. And if she is treating him this way now, I'm sad to see how she treats him after her real child is born. Not the idiot. This says a lot about your wife's character. You're not spoiling your oldest by paying for a ventricular assist device. This is a medical device which will improve his quality of life. She believes material things such as a pretty nursery for your other child is more important. Which is ridiculous. Fair enough if you saved money for it. But you haven't. She knows what this money is for. She is letting you know now that she would use your older son's medical condition as a way to create issues between the children. Everyone's the idiot here. Both of you all crossed a line. She shouldn't have ordered a nursery and expect you to pay for it with your son's medical money, but she's feeling ignored. She's pregnant and it sounds like you don't have time for her. Yes, you are busy with your son and his medical problems, but I think you need to sit down with your wife and have an open conversation. This has probably been building for her for a while. Make some time to spend with her and talk about your baby together. Pick a color for the nursery and paint it. My 43 sister's wedding was last week. She sent me and my wife an invitation and said that the wedding allowed kids, so everyone was bringing their kids to the event. Once I heard the kids were allowed, I let my wife know and she decided to go dress shopping with our daughter, 14. Our daughter is quite picky when it comes to clothes. It took them several visits to the mall to find what our daughter was looking for. The day of the wedding, my daughter came wearing her dress and showing it off. She wanted to take a minute and look at. I turned around and saw that it was a white gown that looked like a wedding dress. I don't know what I felt, but it wasn't right. I asked my wife why she let our daughter buy a white dress, knowing that it's inappropriate and unwanted at any wedding. She said it was no big deal and that it can't possibly be a distraction, cause that's ridiculous. I was mad. I kept thinking, what are mother and sister gonna say when they see it? I told my daughter she needed to go change or she isn't allowed to come when wearing this dress. She had a meltdown, asking why. I told her it's her choice after she refused and didn't allow her to come with us to the wedding. My wife screamed at me after my daughter went upstairs, calling me an idiot for not letting her attend over a dress. Called me crazy to think my daughter would steal the attention and I ended up going alone. My family knew. Some agreed with me, while my sister blew up saying she wanted her niece there and I screwed up big time because it didn't matter if she wore white. She is a kid. My wife and daughter haven't been talking to me ever since and no one seems to understand how I could have taken the blame if my daughter showed up in white. Not the idiot. What your daughter wanted to do was incredibly inappropriate. You are absolutely right that you would have taken the blame if your sister had taken offense. Turned out that she didn't, but you had no way of knowing that. Your wife also showed extremely poor judgment in buying the dress. You told your daughter that she couldn't go in that dress and she had a hissy fit and then ended up missing the wedding. She's 14. She is old enough to bear consequences of her own actions, especially if they are self-imposed. Not the idiot. You had a common sense reaction to an obvious breach of well-known etiquette. I wouldn't expect a 14-year-old to know that, but your wife should have. Seriously. If you did make that assumption and were wrong, you'd be hosed as well. And of course you aren't going to call and ask her on her wedding day. Kind of a cardinal rule not to pester the bride or groom with crap that isn't absolutely necessary. Your wife should have called your sister long before the wedding to see if that was okay, since she was there when it was purchased and you were not. You're the idiot. You could have shown the least bit of interest in your daughter's dress at any point prior to the wedding. I can't wrap my head around do not bother the bride before the wedding, but a phone call would have taken a minute and spared everyone a lot of frustration. If not her, the groom, your mom, the maid of honor, or getting the input from anyone other than the person who decided not to take an interest in his daughter until the very last minute. You could have said fine, wear that, but bring a spare dress, and if anyone says anything, you better change. Just for some background, my family is a bit larger. We are all pretty healthy people, but we are not naturally thin. Both of my parents are bigger, I'm a bit bigger, and growing up my sister was too. Now, my sister works hard to fight being a bigger. She eats like a rabbit and does pretty crazy workouts. People tend to look up to her for keeping her weight down and getting healthy, but from my perspective, she is constantly stressing herself out to maintain this appearance, with all the running etc. My daughter turned 14 a couple of months ago and has been expressing distaste about her body for a while. She's a bit chubby, like myself. It makes me sad, but I'm trying to teach her to love herself for who she is. I know that my words haven't gotten through to her, as she has been going to my sister for advice. First was the at-home exercises and running. It is difficult to watch her beat herself up with these exercises. She claims to enjoy them, but I'm sure she wouldn't do them if she didn't want to be skinny like my sister. Then she started regularly complaining about the food that I prepare. I'm not a huge vegetable person, and neither is anybody else in our family. I'm not going to waste money on it. It has led to many arguments between us. The final straw was when I opened up a package that turned out to be a food scale for my daughter. My sister bought it for her. My daughter told me that since I will continue to make her eat unhealthy food, her aunt told her to weigh it out so she doesn't eat too much. I immediately confronted my sister about it. She is trying to push her lifestyle habits onto my daughter. I'm trying to teach her to love herself, not spend mental energy fighting biology. She tried to blame me for making my daughter unhealthy in the first place. She claims to be trying to help. Just because my daughter can't run a mile and do the difficult exercises she does to maintain her weight doesn't mean she's not healthy. I hung up with my sister and went to post to Facebook about her buying my young daughter a scale and encouraging her to weigh her food. People look up to her, and I think everyone should know that she pushes young women to hate their bodies. My post received a lot of criticism, and some people even think I'm an idiot for trying to tarnish my sister's image and for refusing to let my daughter try to lose weight. From my perspective, I'm just trying to spread awareness about what she is doing. Someone recommended that I post here. Am I the idiot for telling everyone that my sister got my daughter a food scale, or is she for getting her one in the first place? Just to respond to everyone, we are not obese, we are just a bit taller and a bit chubby. Maybe a little bit overweight. We may not run and stuff, but we do other activities that we enjoy like gardening, swimming, walking, etc. You don't need to be able to run to be healthy. You're the idiot. You aren't eating healthy and won't allow your daughter to do that even when she is very willing. Vegetables are important for a balanced diet, you're not wasting your money on vegetables. But you are the idiot for not listening to your daughter and helping her out. Exercise is very essential for the body, more important than being skinny. You should be encouraging her to be healthy both mentally and physically, not tearing her down for trying to lose weight and being fit. Balanced diet and start exercising yourself. The end goal is not to be skinny, but to be healthy and fit. You're the idiot. Nothing from what you've said implies that your sister tried to force her lifestyle on your daughter. You said your daughter has expressed wanting to lose weight for a while now, which seems you were completely against because you're not a vegetables person and no one in your family is. So you left her no choice but to talk to someone who she can relate to more. If you can't be that person for your daughter, why are you still not letting your sister be that person for her? Instead, you're trying to discourage her from doing any exercise. You're the idiot. My mother told me that my family was naturally bigger, we aren't. My family abused me and kept me quiet with junk food and fast food. I was 350 my senior year in high school. You may or may not be feeding your daughter a healthy diet, but that rabbit food and daunting exercise will prolong her life and make it easier on her body when she is older. I had high blood pressure and diabetes. I was able to control that with diet and exercise. Let your daughter develop good habits now because it is getting your health back in order when you are older.